There is probably a conversation in your life that you have been avoiding. Maybe it is a teammate who keeps missing your expectations, or maybe it is a manager who keeps overloading you with work, or maybe it is a client, a partner, or someone you care about. And no matter how capable you are in other areas of life, difficult conversations have a way of making even smart, composed people feel anxious. Because human conflict is uncomfortable and it is unpredictable. And in modern work, it is one of the few things you cannot automate away. Artificial intelligence can write your emails. It can summarize your meetings. It can help you brainstorm research and organize your thoughts. But it cannot walk into a tense room with you. It cannot regulate your nervous system in real time. And it cannot navigate human emotion with genuine presence. That means one of the most valuable skills in the future of work will not just be technical ability. It will be the ability to handle hard conversations with clarity, calm, and control. So, if you want to stand out in a world where more and more people rely on AI tools, you need to get better at the one thing that most people still avoid, the conversation they know they need to have. And to understand how to do that, I did not start with traditional corporate advice. I looked at one of the highest stakes communication environments in the world. Chris Voss is a former lead international hostage negotiator for the FBI and the author of Never Split the Difference. His work is not about sounding nice, it is about understanding how people behave under pressure. And when you strip away the dramatic setting, the psychology is surprisingly relevant to everyday life. Because a hostage negotiation and a workplace conflict may look very different on the surface, but underneath, both involve emotion, fear, identity, and the need to fit. So in this video, I want to give you 3 of the most useful ideas I took from Chris and adapted for the modern work and real life. Not to manipulate people and not to dominate them, but to help them stay calm, lower their defensiveness, and move conflict toward collaboration. Let's get into it. The first idea is something Voss calls tactical empathy. Now, when most people hear about the word empathy, they think it means softness. They think it means agreeing with the other person or giving in or feeling sorry for them. But that is not what this means. Tactical empathy is not surrender. It is not weakness. It is not saying you are right and I'm wrong. It is the deliberate skill of understanding how the other person sees the situation and showing them that you understand without necessarily agreeing with their conclusion. That distinction matters because in most difficult conversations, the other person is not just reacting to the facts, they are reacting to what the facts mean to them. So, what it means for their reputation, what it means for their workload, for their sense of control, and for how respected they feel. And when people feel misunderstood, they escalate, they defend, they attack, they stop listening to you. But your first job is not to explain yourself. Your first job is to make the other person feel understood. Let's say the coworker is angry because a deadline slipped. Most people respond by defending themselves immediately. They say, let me explain. Actually, it wasn't my fault. You don't understand what happened. And maybe all of that is true, but the moment you do that too early, the conversation becomes a fight over perspectives. Instead, tactical empathy sounds more like this. It seems like you're really frustrated because this delay puts your team in a difficult position with the client. That sentence does something powerful. It lowers the emotional temperature. It communicates awareness and it tells the other person, I see what this feels like from your side. Notice what you're not doing. You're not admitting to guilt. You're not abandoning your position. And you're not saying that you're fully correct. You're simply acknowledging the emotional reality of the situation. And that is what often opens the door to an actual conversation. This is where a lot of people get it wrong. They think being effective in conflict means being quick, being sharp, and being convincing. But often the most effective thing you can do is to pause your own agenda long enough to reflect the other person's reality back to them. Because people become much easier to talk to once they no longer feel like they have to fight over to be seen. So the next time someone comes in hot, do not rush the defend. Start here. It sounds like, it seems like, or it looks like from your side. Simple language with a calm tone and without sarcasm. And no over-explaining. That is tactical empathy. And it is one of the fastest ways to turn conflict into cooperation. Secret number 2. The second idea is deceptively simple and it feels almost too small to work. It is called mirroring. When most people are under pressure, they talk too much. They over-explain, they justify, they feel silence because silence feels dangerous. But according to Voss, one of the most effective ways to gather information and reduce resistance is not to say more, it is to say less. Mirroring means repeating the last 1 to 3 meaningful words the other person just said with calm curiosity. That is it. And yet, it works incredibly well. You might be asking why. Because it encourages the other person to keep talking, it makes them feel heard, and it often reveals what is actually going on beneath the surface. Here's is an example. Imagine your boss comes to you late on a Friday and says, I need this entire report reviewed and finalized by tomorrow morning. Your nervous system probably reacts immediately. You feel pressure, you feel resentment, you start thinking about your weekend. Most people respond in one or two ways. They either panic or they say yes too quickly, or they push back too hard and create friction. Mirroring gives you a third option. You take a breath, stay calm, and say, by tomorrow morning, then you stop talking. That silence matters because now the other person feels invited to explain. They might say, well, ideally tomorrow morning, but really I just need the key sections cleaned up before the client sees it Monday. Now the conversation has changed. You did not argue, you did not resist, and you did not even say, you simply created space for more truth to come out. And that is what mirroring does. It slows the interaction down and it reduces your emotional reactivity. And it also lets the other person reveal their priorities, assumptions, and flexibility that were not obvious in the original statement or whatever they to you. You can use this everywhere. A client says, we are disappointed with how this turned out. You say, disappointed with how this turned out? And a colleague says, you've been hard to work with lately. You say, hard to work with lately? A manager says, this needs to improve. And you say, needs to improve? Not in a robotic way, and not in an aggressive way, and not like you're challenging them. You do it with a genuine curiosity. That part is crucial. Because mirroring is not a trick if your energy is wrong. If your tone sounds sarcastic, defensive, or smug, everything will fall apart. But if your tone is calm and open, it works because people naturally want to clarify themselves. And very often, the more they clarify, the more useful information you get. So, the lesson here is simple. When the stakes go up, talk less. Ask smaller. Let silence work for you. And secret number 3. Regulate the tone before you address the problem. The third idea may be the most counterintuitive, and it directly contradicts the kind of advice that gets rewarded in a hustle culture. You are often told to be direct, to be brutally honest, to say exactly what needs to be said. And yes, clarity does matter, but in emotionally charged situations, raw directness can easily become emotionally blunt force. When people feel concerned, they do not hear your logic, they hear the threat. And that is why how you say something matters just as much as what you say. Chris Voss talks about something he calls the late night FM DJ voice. It is a calm, low, downward inflecting tone. The point is not to sound dramatic. The point is to communicate, because when your voice is rushed, tense, sharp, or defensive, the other person's nervous system picks up on it immediately. And once both nervous systems are activated, the conversation stops being productive. Now it becomes to fight for control. So before you even address the hard topic, regulate the emotional atmosphere. Slow your pace. Lower your volume slightly. Relax your jaw and drop your shoulders. Breathe before you respond. That calmness does not just help them, it helps you also. Because one of the hidden truths about difficult conversations is this. The biggest threat is not usually the other person. It is your own reactivity. Your urge to rush, your urge to prove that you're right, your urge to interrupt the other person when they're talking, your urge to end the discomfort as fast as possible. But difficult conversations usually go better when you stop trying to win the moment and start trying to stabilize it. Let's say you need to give someone hard feedback. A harsh conversation sounds like this. We need to talk. This is becoming a problem. A regulated version sounds more like this. I want to talk through something important. I would like us to do it in a way that's useful for both of us. They have the same purpose, but a very different emotional impact. Or maybe you need to set a boundary. Instead of this can't keep happening, you might say, I want to be honest about what's not working for me, and I want to find a better way moving forward with you. Again, calmer, less threatening, and more collaborative. This is not about becoming vague. It is about making truth easier to receive from the other person's perspective. Because the more defensive the other person feels, the less likely they are to hear what you are actually trying to say. So before the content, think about the container. Before the argument, think about the nervous system. Before the point, think about the tone. That is often the difference between a conversation that creates trust and one that leaves damage behind. So let's bring this together. If you want To get better at difficult conversations, remember these three things. First, use tactical empathy. Show the other person you understand how the situation feels from their side. Second, mirroring. Say less, stay curious, and let the other person reveal more than they intended to. Finally, third, regulate the tone before you push the point. Because calm is not weakness, calm is leverage. And this is why communication still matters so much in the age of AI. The future will reward technical skill, yes, but it will also reward the people who can navigate tensions without avoidance, defensiveness, or unnecessary aggression. The people who can stay steady when things get uncomfortable. The people who can turn conflict into clarity. The people who know how to protect the relationship while still telling the truth. That skill is not old-fashioned. It is becoming more valuable. Because the more automated the world becomes, the more rare genuine human judgment will be. And difficult conversations are one of the clearest places where that shows up. So if there's a conversation you have been avoiding, maybe this is your sign. Stop rehearsing it in your head and prepare to have it well. Not perfectly, not aggressively, just skillfully. If you want more grounded, practical ideas on communication, confidence, and becoming someone others trust under pressure, subscribe to this channel. Here on The Fan, we break down the psychology and skills that help you think clearly, speak calmly, and lead yourself well in a noisy world where AI is almost going to take over. And until the next time, lead with empathy, stay calm under pressure, and never split the difference.